Hello and welcome to section number 3. All right, so we're on part three of the listening section. For part 3, it's going to still be pretty similar to the first and second parts of it. This one, you're going to be having 6 questions, as we'll see over here. We have 6 questions. We're going to listen to each question and only answer it once, and then we have to choose the best answer. Few things to pay attention to is when you're taking the real test, right? You're not able to pause the audio, okay? So just be aware of that, right? So as you're listening, if you don't get something, sorry, you just don't get it, all right? You just have to move on, right? So if you miss something, it's just what happens during a test. So don't panic. And yeah, just make sure that you're doing well. The test moves faster. So for this one, we're going to really break it down and take a look at how to answer these questions a little bit more accurately and decide what those correct answers are. Okay? So everyone is going to start with this pre-listening prompt. All right. So as we see here, it says, you will hear a conversation. A man is interviewing a woman about perfectionism in the workplace. Okay. So that's very useful information. So make sure that through these, it's always good to take notes on this. All right. So let's go ahead and start our notes now, right? Get our text going. I'm going to take notes on the left here, as I usually do. Okay, so we're seeing that we have an interview, and it's about perfectionism. All right, in workplace. All right, so that's useful information. As we're going through and listening to this interview that's coming up, make sure that you're not just taking notes on the little bits of it, but you really want to be able to grab the main ideas. You want to find out main ideas, what are the problems that are being brought about, and what are the solutions, okay? So let's go ahead and write these notes, and then afterwards, we'll take a look and see, oh, did we cover those things, right? Did we find what the main idea is? Did we find out what the problem was? And did we find out what the solutions are? Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, as it says here, right, you're not going to have this play bar during it. When it goes next, it'll just naturally play.
Thanks, Dr. Burns, for speaking to us about perfectionism in the workplace. To get us started, perfection is typically seen as a positive thing. I mean, to be perfect is to make something the best it can be. However, do you think perfectionism is always positive?
Well, not always. Although perfectionism is generally associated with success, it can also be very negative.
Can you explain more about that?
Our study has found that perfectionists tend to spend much more time on a task than non-perfectionists.
Isn't the quality of the work better the longer you spend on a task?
Not necessarily. Because perfectionists have such a high standard, they devote too much attention to details. In our study, it was common for perfectionists to run out of time and fail to complete their tasks. We also found that perfectionists had difficulties sharing work. Perfectionists tended to do all the work by themselves.
Did that create problems in the workplace?
Most definitely. First, we found that perfectionists are having trouble staying employed in large companies. They are seen as less cooperative and less capable. Second, we found that perfectionists feel more socially isolated. This leads me to our third main finding. Those who strive for perfection in the workplace are more prone to severe anxiety and even depression.
Is it fair to say that perfectionism causes stress and may even cause depression?
No, it is not a direct cause. We believe time management is the key to this puzzle. Our participants' anxiety and feelings of depression were often associated with fear of not having enough time to finish the task.
So, if they managed their time better, anxiety and depression could subside.
We believe so, and that's the focus of our next research project.
That is fascinating. Until then, any advice for perfectionists?
I'd say to start with a careful and realistic plan. Prioritize what is needed to bring a project to completion and not spend too much time on details. I'd also suggest that they try to work in groups and discuss their difficulties with other people.
Okay, so as you can see here, I did take a good amount of notes as we ran through this, right? So, here we are. Let's go ahead and make sure that this doesn't get in our way. All right, so we know that we are talking about perfectionism, right, as we saw in the thing above. All right, let's move this up here. Okay, let me explain the notes quickly, and then we're also going to see if we have the main idea, the problem, and the solution. All right, so the main idea obviously is perfectionism. So as we go through this, we can see that. All right, so how are these notes kind of created that I'd made? Again, notes are completely personal to you. So what you see here, I honestly would not recommend that you go and copy exactly what I do. That's not how, unless you have the exact same brain as me. I'm assuming you don't. We're all different. We all think differently. You guys maybe have more creativity. Maybe you're more this or that, right? You want to use those things, right? If your mind works more in pictures, maybe you can use pictures to draw faster and make it cleaner. Or if you have a different way of organizing things, go for that. Okay, the way that I did this is, right, so I tried to write down the conversation chronologically, so just from start to finish. I felt like that was a little bit easier. I think it's easier, especially with these longer ones, right? These are 2.5 minutes long. Okay, so, and then these little slashes I just use to indicate, oh, the speaker is changing, right? So the person that's talking. It's not necessary in this one, right? Because it's an interviewer and an interviewee, right? So the interviewer is usually going to be asking questions while the interviewee is going to be giving answers. But just for me, I thought it'd be easier. Another thing is when you're taking notes, you're going to be using, whoa, pen and paper. So when you're taking a pen and paper, making a little slash can be a lot easier, right? So, yeah, having little shorthand notes for you to make it easier can be useful for you. Okay, so for example, I had perfection is positive. Is it slash means that the speaker changed? Not always. Not negative. Slash quality better. Slash, right? So this is like the interviewer speaking. Then I slash the interviewee is speaking. Slash, right? Problems. Okay, so that's how I organized my notes. All right. Do we have the main idea? Yeah, it was pretty much brought up at the beginning. Okay, do we have what the problems are? Yes, let's go ahead and highlight our problems quickly. Problems we have are they spend more time on a task. But I would say here is the main part of our problems as well as these. Okay, and actually, if we take a look at our notes, we have where it even says problems. All right, so right here, I wrote probs for problems. Okay. Oh yeah, let me go and run through, make sure that you guys understand all of my shorthand. All right, so perf is for perfectionism, negative, probs, problem, empl, I know that's going to be employed, isol, isolated or isolation, depression, cause, blah, blah, blah. And then focus of next. So this is interesting because when I saw this at first, I was like, oh, what is res? I forgot. But for me, res was research. Okay. Some notes got cut out here. I believe they were about group work as well as just being good at time management. Okay. So that's what's being cut off down here. Okay. So we have our problem and then our solution is down here. Maybe we can move this. Let's try and do that quickly before we move on to our questions. Get rid of those boxes, scoot this up and drag this down. There we go. There they are. All right. So yeah, real and careful groups, right? So real and careful. I personally don't remember why I wrote that. But yeah, I'm assuming it's just like being in groups and then not worrying about carefulness or something like that, right? So see, no matter who you are, you can have notes where you might not understand a thing or two, but that's okay as long as you have the main idea. And you honestly want to fix that, right? So you don't want to have notes that you don't understand. You always want to make sure you understand all of your notes. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the questions that we have here.
Question 1.
What is the woman's occupation?
All right. So what is the woman's occupation? Easiest thing for us is we know that it's Dr. Burns. Okay, so we could say doctor. Is she a family doctor though? Doesn't mention anything about a family doctor. Is she a business manager? Don't have anything there. Is she a journalist? Could be possible, but I don't see anything here. And based on the information and what we heard, the general idea of it, I would definitely say she is a researcher, right? Why is she a researcher? Because she is very detailed and very scientific about her explanations, okay? So also she's doctor, right? So doctor means that you have a doctorate, which means that you're doing a lot of studies on a certain topic. So researcher it is.